All right, we're back here with Boedi. Getting a little late start to the week. I didn't get out of Montana until a little later, and then just dealing with life stuff, and here we are. But we're getting this one in. We're gonna try to remember what happened at Pan Am's and Thundercross, the secretly named Thundercross, Boedi, and we'll get to all that. How's it going?
It's going good. It's better today. It's been quite a week. And yeah, it's Thursday, and I don't know what happened to Wednesday. Tuesday was a blur. But here we are, and like I was looking back at my notes, it's like, my God, Koppenberg was ages ago. And that was Friday. But yeah, there's a lot of racing happened this weekend that, as I said, felt like such a long time ago. But looking over my notes, I was kind of excited to get back into it, and there was some good action that happened in Montana this weekend. Bill, I always got to check in. You were there on the ground. Give me the vibe check.
The vibe check. The vibe check was good. I like what they do out there. I like what they do out there for their cyclocross, their mountain biking and everything. They got a really good engaged community. And I mean this with the utmost respect. It seems like a local race. It's a local race weekend. That's kind of the vibe that we're at. You know, it's still the course is great. It's a worthy course for a championship, but just the show of it is the same thing that I would see if I went out to a race just locally here. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it was nice. It was homey.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it was, we had the first live stream of the season for a domestic race. So that was pretty cool. I was able to watch both days. I will say that, first of all, venue looks fun. Like what I can see from the drone, it looked beautiful. Looked like a place I'd like to go visit as well. Live stream was got better as the weekend went on, got better as the races went on. I know that's a really hard thing to do. I mean, they had announcers who were there, and they were then doing interviews after, so they were there on site, and I appreciated they had a lot of energy, and you could tell they were very excited about what they were doing, and that always makes things way better. The drone was kind of the main camera for the live stream, and you know how I feel about that. But I actually do think, as I said, it got really good at the end. The drone operator did a good job of actually following the action. Part of my issue with the drone is you're so far away, it's so impersonal. You don't get to see the faces really, right? Mm-hmm. And you see things from kind of a weird angle. From straight above is kind of actually, I think, hard to view bike racing. I mean, I say that and then I think of road, but a 45-degree angle where you're actually more kind of seeing them is helps you understand the movements and the speeds. And I feel like I said, that sort of operation got better as the weekend went on. The one thing that's funny in sort of broadcast corner was, I don't know how. So they must have been using a DJI drone, because you could hear every time the operator hit record, that sound would go off. That sound.
Yep.
When they took a photo, you could hear that sound. Yep, exactly. And so I was trying to figure out how that was getting into the broadcast, and I was saying, okay, I was somehow, I don't know how this stuff works. I don't know how you bring in a drone feed into a broadcast, but somehow it's pulling in the audio, or the operator was standing next to a mic.
Well, I think it's because the HDMI cable is going to go straight into the controller.
Okay.
So there must be some audio component with that as well.
It's pulling in. Okay, so it's coming out of okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because then at some point it flashed up the DJI menu on their screen, and so I was like, "Yep, that's my menu." But anyway, that was just kind of a funny. I was like, "Why?" I was like, first of all, I was looking around at my house, and is that me? Is that my phone? Why? Who's hitting record? But yeah, so to get back to the race, Thundercross was Saturday. Never mentioned once during the live stream. This is kind of the funny thing where I was I kept checking the calendar, because they're we're at Pan Am's. And I was like, wait, did they switch the schedule? But no, they were just referring to Pan Am's weekend, and the word Thundercross was just never there. So it was kind of a funny moment. We were chatting on Slack, like, wait a second, did we miss it? But yeah.
The same thing happened at mountain bike Pan Ams this year, where the announcers were 90% through the event, and finally somebody had to go up to them and say, this isn't the Pan Am race that happens tomorrow.
Right.
Because they're like, yeah, and so in the, men's 30 to 40 is a Pan Am champion. And they're like, timeout. Actually, no. They just won a race, and they'll be racing for that tomorrow.
Yeah. There was discussion about the jersey and who was going to win the jersey today. And I was like, no, because the Pan Am jersey is being worn today.
It's confusing.
Yeah. So
and they did not do a great job. Yeah, marketing Thundercross.
Right.
To the point I was telling you beforehand, and I don't think Sam Brown does a really nice job sending out this newsletter to his sponsors, and he always, he hires me to take photos, and in his report to them this year, he was like, I didn't know it was called Thundercross until I saw it on Bill's folder or that he sent to me of the images. So
yeah.
But Cyclocross 24 has it.
They do. Yeah. No, that was the thing. Like, it was kind of a small thing. It was funny. Yeah. But we did have a race, and it was pretty good. Try women's. I'm looking. I'm trying to remember. Like, okay, what? It's always these back to back.
Women's was a great, just kind of dress rehearsal all the way around, because everybody showed, as far as your top 4, really, right? I mean, from Katie Klaus and Sydney McGill and Isabella Holmgren, and then Natalie Quinn, right? Those 4 were up there.
And those were the 4 that were in the mix at the end of the next day. So, yeah. And then we just had some of the U23s. We had Lauren Zorner in there.
Which was another good, more to the men's side, but that was another good indication of who was going to do well in the U23 races as well. One thing I do want to get to, you're talking about the course and everything, and the coverage. One really big change from last year. I guess 2 changes for the course. If you saw on the drone coverage when they were like on the coming up the off camber, and the planks and that whole side going to where they make the left turn and go to the finish, there's a big road that you would see that ran parallel to that. Last year, that was the finish. Like, they would climb, they would actually go the other way. So they were going down that off camber. So reverse direction, coming off of that, and then turning back up and going uphill on the pavement to the finish. And it was a hard uphill finish. It was pretty cool. Long, nice grade. So last year, that was a determining factor, because it really was that classic cyclocross decision of, are we going to go really hard each lap on the finishing straight that is uphill, or are we all just going to sit here and chill? Yeah. Or attack or do whatever. So that was just removed from the equation, because then the start finish straight this year was pretty shorter and flat, and then had a really severe left turn onto a parking lot. So people weren't really going to go but so fast at the end of that. And then the second part of it was, when you were coming up that finishing straight last year, you would take a right turn to a place we didn't even touch this year. And then there was this big mesa hill there that they would like roll out onto the grass, climb up, and then have to serpentine down and then head back over to the other side of the course. I'm seeing, so that road last year was completely closed off. Like, cars were not allowed on that. Seeing how much traffic was on the road this year, and there was like a high school football game happening right behind it and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure the city was like, we're going to rethink you all just closing this road for 2 days straight, and I think you have to find another solution. I don't know that for a fact, but I will bet you that that's what happened, that they were like, you can't close this road for 2 days.
Yeah, I remember looking at I'm looking at the course map now on CX24, and it has the part on the other side. And I was noticing that it used to cross the road, and then in the live stream, I'm seeing all those cars on that road, and I was like, oh, wasn't that part of the course? So, yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to tell, but it seemed like it was a pretty good course from what I could see. Looked pretty fun. Some nice. Those had the 2 run-ups. You had some of that kind of that weird double line in the archery where there was the top line that Funston was riding, and then like they would switch, high line, low line. There was one section where they went under like a covered walkway or something. I don't know. There was some funny stuff there, but yeah, it seems like that would make it a lot easier to just not have to go across the street.
Yeah, I think that as far as super technical stuff on that course, there really isn't anything. I think there were some tricky corners on Saturday when it was a little wet that weren't really as much a factor on Sunday. There's the run up that everybody thought it was. It's one of my favorite things when you get there like on a Friday and everybody, or even a Thursday, and everybody's out there just testing the course and sessioning different features and figuring out what they're going to do on Sunday, and hope springs eternal during practice sessions before you race, and everybody's like, everybody's like there for an inordinate amount of time trying to ride the run up. Like, that's the thing. And everybody's staring at it, and they're watching everybody else try it, and they're looking at different, approaches. And, if you go down to the descent on this side, and then if you like cut it quote here and then accelerate it up all the way to the side, maybe you can ride it there. And it's great because everybody thinks at that point that it's something that they can do. Maybe just once in the race, but it's something that they can do. And then by Sunday, nobody does it. I think Strohmeyer did it once. I think then I'm not sure. I think a couple other people were in there riding, and Funston might have ridden it. But it wasn't a factor. It's not a technical section because everybody has to just run it the same. You're just basically running it every time. But I do like. It's what I do like that everybody in the beginning is still hopeful and optimistic that maybe they can do it, and maybe that'll be a factor for them.
It always seems like with some of these features, like there's a lot of prep, but then once you actually hit it at race effort, and could have like not even like race speed, but like race effort, where you're sort of in the box, or your heart is pumping that hard for 10 minutes so far, or 5 minutes or whatever, then it like completely changes. Then you just run. You're like, this just faster to run. I guess Ian Ackert, he seemed to be riding it.
Yep, Ian definitely. Yeah,
on Saturday.
Sure. Yeah.
Blondie there.
And then on Sunday it got chewed up a lot more. Just because part of the reason it was kind of funny too, because at the beginning of the practice session, a lot more people were riding it versus the end of the practice session, because everybody doing that just like chewed it up all the way to the point where it was unrideable.
So you guys had a little rain on Saturday before the elite started?
Yeah. And then I think that so it was just kind of threatening, and it got cold, and the wind started blowing, and then the junior men went out there in like a Montana tsunami. They just had like sideways rain. Everybody had to take their tents, lower down their tents, because it was just like poor guys, and they're out there just just racing in this storm. They finish Thundercross, women elite start, and it's just like done. Sun's out, good to go.
Yeah, it looked beautiful. I have to say, okay, Bill, have you ever done a cyclocross race that has been paused because of weather? Or have you ever seen this?
I'm trying to remember. I mean, I would think lightning would be. I don't think so. I remember racing in really miserable rainy conditions a lot.
Yeah. We did a race here in Baton Rouge, and a lightning cell was coming through, and as I'm going through the line, no, I wasn't in that race. I was taking photos, or I was watching. As people are going through the line, they're like, stop. And then they stopped everybody. And I guess we took shelter or whatever. And then like 15 minutes later, they were like, okay, they kind of lined everybody up, like starting at the finish, start, finish, and then like kind of spaced them back as appropriate. And then we're like, all right, go and go and go. And
Wow.
yeah, it was I had never seen it. I hadn't seen a ton
It's like
at
a
races.
virtual safety car.
Yeah. So I don't know. Has anybody else seen that? Has anybody in race that's been paused? Please let me know, because I want
Just
to know if,
neutralized and just saving your spot.
yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
these guys were good officials, and
Yeah.
I always thought they were pretty good and pretty fair. So I felt like it was like, it wasn't like, it seemed like they were very intentional about what they were doing, and I think they pulled it off. And the guy who was in the lead won. And so anyway, just kind
That's
of
great
funny.
that they started the race again. A lot of places just would have been like,
Done.
we got
Yeah.
a schedule we got to stick to. We're
Yeah. No, that's
sorry.
true. Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
we in Louisiana, we're not as we don't have as big as fields or as many people, so we can just add a little land yap there at the end. So yeah, speaking of junior, I saw that because we brought this up last week, Alyssa Sarkisov won on Saturday, beat Raphael again.
Yeah, so they have been battling. It was kind of interesting. We went and looked at the cyclocross 24 head to head, and until Sunday at Really Rad, Alyssa had lost to Raphael 11 straight times. Never had a better result. She won that, and that's just kind of like, she's got her foot in the door there, and was able to do the same on Saturday. But it's like, what do you take away from Saturday results, right? It's you can only read so much into that, going up and down all of our races. What are you taking away from that? Because you want to race, and how you do if you race well, going hard on Saturday versus Sunday. Or are you out there like with the governor on, where you're like, okay, I want to see how this course just handles at race pace, but Thundercross only means so much to me if I'm at the top of this field, probably done well in a lot of C2s already. So it doesn't, it's not that important compared to winning a jersey on Sunday. That's the important thing. So that's kind of the game that you're, not only are the people racing, but also watching it. You're going, okay, well, here's this result. How much stock do I put into that result, knowing that the goal is the next day?
I mean, and then you see the result on the next day, and you're like, well, the stock was, I put a lot into that because it was the same.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the junior women went, that was great. I mean, that Saturday was a great race. Sunday, again, little biased here, as Alyssa races for CXD Trek bikes, but that was one of the best races of the weekend. I mean, between the two of them, between Raphael and Alyssa, they were able to get away from the field pretty early, and then they just really went at each other that whole race. And I don't think they were looking at each other. I don't think, we were talked about it Really Rad, where they were kind of slowing down in the pits and playing all these games. There were no games being played on this one. It was just a heavyweight battle out there. And what happened throughout the weekend, what we'll talk about a lot more, is what we always talk about, the sprint before the sprint. For what I thought was the kind of obvious spot, was you have to get to the off camber first at the end of the lap. You get to that off camber, and then it's just sort of the twisty turnies, and then you just make that left turn, and it's the finishing straight. And you have to have a special ride, which we'll have one coming up on Thundercross, to be able to come around and win a sprint. Most people aren't going to be able to do it. There's just not enough time to wind up. It's a pretty severe turn to get that power. If you come across first, you're going to win. So the sprint before the sprint actually was even backed up before that. And that's what we learned on Saturday. That was really, and you saw it on the drone shot, it was really getting to pit 2. And if you could get ahead by the end of pit 2, then your chances of winning went up just a lot. So in the, just going through it, same thing. Garrett Bashore, another good, I guess. What do you want to take from that? If we talk about that, and I guess we can sort of go through what happened the next day as well. BJC rider who had a great ride on Saturday, came back on Sunday and did it again. Won the championship in the dark. So interesting scheduling this
Right.
one, which I kind of liked. So you had your elites go first, and then your U23s, and then your juniors closed out the day. It's a little bummer for the junior men. They were basically racing in the dark.
I feel like with the juniors, like, oh, we gotta get back to school. We can't be racing end of the day. This is kind of what we're gonna have for nationals too, right? Are the juniors?
Yeah, but at least it'll be on Saturday.
True. There you go. That's right. Okay.
So even if they're later, it doesn't matter because all of the elites on Saturday, and then you'll have, non-elite races on Sunday for nationals, which I like. I would have been happy if they had done that here too, but I think that sort of that gets you a lot less participation in Thundercross if it's on Sunday and your Pan Ams are on Saturday. That then you get into day 3 Jingle Cross type situation.
I'm just looking at Garrett Bashore. Man, he's had quite a little streak here. Let's see. He's
come on strong, yeah.
Then Major Taylor, Thundercross, and Pan Ams. We don't count junior wins in the streak tweet, but Garrett's on one.
Yeah, I think that if you looked sort of early season, Benjamin Brovman was having a great year. Yeah, he was definitely up there and somebody that we had our eye on. And then, Bashore shows up and is able to sort of swap that out and start winning those races. So nationals going to be looking really interesting.
Yeah. All right, Thundercross. So we got the juniors, we got the women's elite race.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember anything that stuck out in this event. Was Holmgren run, Miguel second, Klaus third, Natalie Quinn. I feel like a lot of folks were in the chat, who is that, and we've heard the name before, or she's had some stronger rides and she's riding for CCB on cross, but she rides for EF, if I'm correct. I believe.
I'm not sure what her situation is right now, but she was in that CCB kit. So the U23 road national champ from 2023, a really good ride. Somebody that I think has some altitude training there as well. So, but yeah, that was cool to see. But as far as like the front of this race, we had our 3 favorites there. We had Katie Klaus, Sydney McGill, Isabella Holmgren. So this one came down to the planks, and the planks are basically, if you want to say pit 2 was the sprint before the sprint, you could, if you really wanted to go for it, you could back it up to those planks. And on Saturday, Isabella was the only one who was riding them, and she rode them. Final lap, was able to attack there. Sydney was able to follow. Katie really wasn't. I think with 2 to go, and then again she did it, but she was able to get that gap, a little bit of a gap, and take that home. And I think that's really what propelled her to the win on Saturday. So that was definitely something that I was going to be watching on Sunday to see what happened on those planks, because it really seemed like one of the places on this course where you could get a gap. Yeah, Bella ended up winning that race. Sydney second, Katie third. For the men's race, another interesting one, because like we were talking about, is what do you do on this day? Do you hold anything back, or do you go all out?
And it's interesting because you have, we said the women's race, you had you had U23s in there, right?
Yep.
and the big one of the day obviously is Ian Ackert, who wins the race, but like Scott's not going to be racing against him. Curtis, like none of those guys are going to be racing against Ian. And so, yeah, you're right. Like, Bill, do you go all in and you, because he was pushing it really hard, and do you stay with him, or do you maybe shut it down after you crash a few times?
Yeah, well, which is, you're talking about Brunner, and I think I think he did. Yeah, I mean, I think that he is so strong that he was able to. I mean, he had those crashes, he fought back, and then at the end of the race, he shut it down pretty early. Curtis was able to catch him, so he got third, but Eric still was able to, roll in for fourth place, but not really racing that last lap or so of that race. But Ackert and Funston out front, they looked like they were going all out. And I think it's that type of thing where it's really hard when you are an athlete and a competitor at that level to say, hey, I'm going to go in here and here's what I can do. And then with 2 laps to go, say, me and this other guy are racing our asses off. This is a lot of fun. We're kind of just killing each other, and I'm going to do everything I can to beat them. I mean, at that point, I mean, it's really hard, I think, when you're at that level and you're a competitor, just say, no, it's okay, you go.
Yeah, not at all. Out. I mean, we know Funston. We've been. I mean, like, look at the season for Funston is just started. He's about championship season. Yeah. So you're in it. Your heart's beating. You're not giving up. You want to win.
Ian Ackert, same thing. Like he's still like thinking about going into crash mode against Brunner on in where was that, Cincinnati. He's just like, he wants to be first across that line, and he was the one guy who was able to come around and win a sprint. Like he came on Funston's wheel when they made that left turn, and he was able to out sprint him. So that was the one exception of the weekend. That was the that was the exception to prove the rule that you can't come from behind on that sprint.
So did Ian, has his hair always been bleached? Or is this like
I think it was between Major Taylor and Cincinnati. I believe the quote was he was bored.
Okay, because he lined up and everybody was like, or I was like, who is that? Like in the live stream, and I was thinking, you interviewed him. There was a Zoom interview.
He looked like that. He had that at Cincy too.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay,
yeah. Well. But no, it was more eyes on him at this race. His dad was referring to him as Barbie.
I mean, hey, or I think you'd call him Ken.
Sure.
But
maybe he wants to be a Barbie and not a Ken.
Okay, sure, maybe. I just thought Ken has long. Well, I guess maybe Barbie has long hair too. Sorry, I'm just thinking about Thibaut Nice also has bleached hair.
Yeah,
won Euros, so in good company.
All right, I actually talked to Ian after he was the one person I talked to after Thundercross on camera. So let's hear what he had to say about the end of this race. So Ian, kind of day before Pan Am race, but still a race, and it looked like y'all were racing pretty hard. You had you and Brunner and Funston out there, really, with I think Curtis and Tyler kind of behind, but the three of you for most of the race. Tell me how that went down.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I took the whole shot off the start. I knew that the first corner was a little sketchy, so I didn't want it to have any issues there, and I led the first lap. And then it was, Funston, Brunner, and I. Well, it was kind of a roller coaster the whole race. Like, someone always had at least a 3-second gap. We were never fully together. I think Brunner almost caught us twice, and I think he crashed twice. The last one was pretty bad, which I think put him out of the contention for the win. But it's a good warm up for tomorrow. I'm excited for that.
But you and Funston had a nice battle there. Like the last couple laps, it was just back and forth.
Oh yeah. I think the last lap I kind of sat on a little bit. I feel bad for that, but yeah, I ended up taking the sprint, so I was happy.
Yeah, you got to practice sprint for tomorrow if it comes up.
Exactly.
Right, so the big one tomorrow, U23 Pan Ams, right?
Yep, try to defend. Thank you.
Felt bad. Don't feel bad, Ian. Don't feel bad for sitting on Scotty's wheel. Scott's okay with that. He wants you to race. He wants to race to the front no matter what.
Yeah, it's tactics, right?
Yeah,
gotta employ those tactics.
If Scott wants to be at the front, if he wants to get him off, he can flick him through. Just one more thing, thinking about the other U23s, winner at Really Rad. Henry Coote DNF'd, Jules Van Kempen DNF, so did Caleb Schwartz. So this is with the chat on Saturday, like after seeing these people DNF, sound like Coote was kind of just not on it, saving it for the next day. I think Caleb as well maybe crashed. I didn't think about, Ian did say that he thinks that Brunner crashed. Did Brunner shut it down, or did he crash so hard that he was just like it affected his racing for the rest of that race? I don't know if we learned that at all.
I think we talked about it a little bit, I think, after the Pan Am, so we'll get to that interview, but I'm pretty sure that he basically just shut it down for that last lap. He just wasn't going to put in the effort to try to catch him. Grant Holicky, who's his coach, was kind of yelling at him that basically think about what you're doing now versus what you want to do tomorrow, when he's kind of trying to cruise back up to the front. So I think they are all on the same page about not burning too many matches. The one other person to talk about who was not in this race was Andrew Strohmeyer, who decided not to race on Saturday. I think his plan, and if we look at his season to date, he hasn't had the best luck on day twos. So I think, and he came out flying on a lot of day one. So I think his plan was not to race Thundercross and just save everything, I think for Sunday. One of the things about this race is that the Thundercross race was really late. It was, I think they raced 4 or 5 o'clock in the at late afternoon, and then they were coming back the next day. And as we already talked about, the elites were racing early, so you're not even getting 24 hours of rest. So I think that was sort of behind his decision just to sit that one out and just all of his eggs in the basket for Sunday, which we should talk about.
Sunday. The actual Pan Ams.
The actual Pan Am Championships.
You could tell it was the Pan Am Championships because Holmgren was not wearing her Pan Am's jersey.
Yeah.
She was wearing her little Trek kit, which is the rule. You can't wear the jersey in the race because you are fighting for the jersey. You are trying to win it. No one owns it during that 40 minutes. Also, one note I heard in the broadcast, and I just want to clarify because it actually is important. They were saying Saturday was a C2, and they were saying Sunday was a C1. It's not a C1. It's a Continental
better than a C1.
Exactly. That's the point. Yeah, it's better. It's more points. It's Continental Championship. It's a category between a C1 and a World Cup, right?
Above a World Cup.
Sorry, above a World Cup and World Championships.
Yep, it's below a World Championship.
Yeah, and it's 100 points for the win.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what C1 is. Gosh, I should know this. One is 40, one is 80, one is 100. World is 400.
Yeah, but it's the type of thing that, and I understand why you may not want to go to Missoula again. Nothing against Missoula, but it's really expensive for a lot of the country. I know for parts of the country, Colorado, more west. And again, this is the discussion that we have to have about about having races around the country, so it's easier for prospective UCI racers to get to these races and not always have to go to the Midwest or the East Coast. But if you are in the Midwest or the East Coast, getting to Missoula is super expensive. And it's do I want to go out there knowing that I don't have a chance for a jersey, and that it's a Continental Championship should sway you into wanting to do that. It's the type of thing when we used to have it like in Cincinnati or Louisville and that type of thing, and people won't show up for Pan Ams, which I always thought was wild, because it's like all of these points are just on the table, and for whatever reason, I think it's changed a little bit now. At that point, the race just had no cachet to it. Like, people just didn't care about Pan Ams, which I never really understood. Now it's like our winners of Pan Ams, for whatever country they're from, they've punched their ticket to Worlds. They just got a spot on the Worlds team. They can just chill for the rest of the season, where everybody else is worried about making the Worlds team. They're done. It's an extra spot. It's an auto. We still get our same country allotment per team, which I think is like 6, and then the 7th rider is that Pan Am champ. They just plop onto the top, and they don't take any spots from anybody else. So
right. So it's good for United States to win Pan Ams, because then you have more spots for more elite Americans. And
especially for the junior classes. It's really important to get that extra spot, because that's the point where we really know that we're going to try to fill those allotments and send as many people as we can.
Well, good job, Garrett. Good job, Alyssa.
Yep.
Good job, Eric. Sorry,
and Lauren.
Katie. Lauren, that's true. So Pan Ams is worth, if you win Pan Ams, it's the Continental Championships, it's worth 100 points.
Right.
C1 is 80. C2 is 40.
Yeah.
So just
but it's also it goes deeper too, right?
Right. Yeah, it goes deeper, and there's more points to give out.
That's kind of my point that I was saying. If you're a top 20 rider and you're just like struggling to get any points in a C2, which only goes 8 deep, you can go to Pan Ams and 10. You can go to Pan Ams and try to, you have a better chance of getting points.
Right.
What does it go to in Pan Ams?
I don't have that in front of me.
You were so quick with that 8 to 10. I thought that you had those other numbers too.
I just know it's 10, 15 for C2, C1 versus point distribution. The World Cup goes like, you get points to like 40th place or something like that. So yeah, someone will chat in the Slack what the distribution is. Okay.
All right. So yeah, we kind of covered the juniors already. Women's U23 race. Lauren Zerner, this was kind of her goal, I think.
Yeah.
I think this in nationals, but this really was, I think, her biggest race of the year, which she wasn't shy about. She wanted to defend this title. She wanted to keep that Pan Am jersey, and she crushed it. I mean, she just absolutely just dominated this race from pretty much start to finish. I think she took the whole shot and never looked back.
Yeah, these are available. You actually can still watch these races. They're on. They're up. I did not watch anything beyond the elites. Sorry, Lauren. But Janiyah Francis in third and Kaya Musgrave. Sorry, Janiyah Francis in second and Kaya Musgrave in third.
Yeah, it was kind of funny seeing Janiyah there. We hadn't seen her all year, and she's another one who I think is going to Europe, has a spot on a world tour team, so she is all in on the road. But it was kind of funny. She's actually, other than the winner, she was the only non-winner for U23s that I talked to, just because I was like, hey, I haven't talked to you all year, I haven't even seen you. And it was like, this was basically her only cyclocross race. So I talked to her and Lauren. Who do you want to talk to first?
Well, let's go to Janiyah.
Yeah, I asked her again. We had it right last year, Janiyah, and I was like, it's Janiyah, right? She's like, yeah, but Janiyah is fine. I was like, no, it's not. That's not how you pronounce your name. We're gonna do it properly. So let's talk to her.
Yeah.
Okay, Janiyah, welcome back to cyclocross.
Thank you.
It's been a while. Actually, when the race started, I didn't know who that was in the black kid out there. So Yeah, just talk to me just about coming back to cross.
Well, I love cross. It's like one of my favorite disciplines. I'm doing a season on the road next year, and I'm moving to Europe, so I need to get a visa for that. And I didn't think I would be able to do a cross season because I have to give my passport away for that. But it came back like super fast, and cross is always like a family thing for me. And my parents are here with my brother, so I was like, okay, before I move, I need to just do one race with my parents, and it's like really fun to do it as a family. So
Yeah,
that's why I came back.
Yeah, so just jumping into it pretty much cold. Really
Yeah,
nice, really nice effort out there today. I know Lauren got a really nice start, but you were able to at least keep her in view.
Yeah, I knew that like the strength side of it would like suit me well. I really liked coming around the ball diamond, but yeah, my skills aren't quite as sharp, and Lauren is super strong and super smooth, so maybe a few more rides on the cross bike before next year.
Are you gonna do nationals?
No, I'm going to Europe next week.
Okay, so this was it.
Yeah,
well,
but next year hopefully more.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
we look forward to seeing you out here next year then, and
Thanks.
congrats on the silver.
Thank you.
Or I shouldn't say world tour. I'm just screwing up road racing all over. I don't know what her.
So I looked it up.
Okay, good.
She's racing for Win Space next year in 2025, and they are a continental team, which is the same as the EF Oatly Cannondale team, which is the team that Natalie Quinn's on. So not women's world tour, but the women's Conti. They should be invited to all the big races for the most part. So yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, that's wow, just dropped in for one race, and she's like all in on road.
Just for some family time. Spend some family time, win a silver medal. It's awesome.
That's God, have that talent.
All right, let's talk to our winner. All right. Obviously a goal coming in here, so to keep the jersey for another year.
Yeah.
Just tell me let's go back to yesterday and just that race and how that prepared you for today.
Yeah, I've always been the kind of person that like learns better by racing, and that's kind of how I enter into like this weekend in particular, just because there's a race the day before. And that's kind of the format we're used to after the USTX and most of the domestic races. So I chose to race yesterday because I knew that like I wasn't going to be able to put in hot laps on the day before the way that maybe like Strohmeyer could, or anybody who doesn't race on day one or has better day one legs. So I chose to go yesterday, get some laps, and really learn the course, and especially like on the wheels of Katie and them. So yeah, good.
And then coming in today, just hot off the line like we've seen all year long, and then just held it from there.
Yeah, that was, I mean, not to say the plan, but that was my hope, is that I was going to be able to kind of control the start, definitely push through the baseball field, maybe kick it a little bit up the flyover because I have longer legs than most of my competition. So really just make them work from the gun. Hopefully make a lot of girls push harder than they wanted to at the beginning of the race, and then I started to see like little 2-second gaps in places, and I just kept on the gas like I was on Mag's wheel and just pretended like there was somebody right in front of me constantly attacking, and that's kind of the way I raced today.
Tears coming across the line.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the emotions.
I've been losing sleep all week over this race. I've been nervous. It's been hard for me to fall asleep, and I've been thinking about it when I wake up. It means a lot to me to like come out here and defend the title that I won last year. And so it really just, I was like coming around the last couple corners, I was like, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry. Then I make it to the line, and I think it just hit me really hard. Yeah, I won! So I'm really excited, and I'm very happy.
Well, congratulations. Nice to see.
Can't wait to gorge myself on a big fat cinnamon roll.
Some great insight from Chanel there, our friend Chanel. Also love to hear how much it meant to her. I mean, I know that a lot of riders kind of maybe sometimes or try to be professional about it, right? Try to really sort of like, this is my job, I'm here, this is the game. But like, to say that she was losing sleep, and to admit that, it's good. It's good to hear. It's like you said, Bill, like this race can mean a lot of things to folks, and it did to Lauren, and she had a goal and she achieved it. And that's, we can't always do that. Many things get in the way. You could have a mechanical at the wrong time, and so kudos to her. It was a good interview.
Yeah, I was really happy for her, and yeah, it meant a lot. And I think if you look on her Instagram account, although it might have been a story, so it's not there anymore, she did get her cinnamon roll.
Right. I did see that and didn't know what that was in reference to, but now I do. Also, I like the comment about her longer legs, getting the jump on the flat. Never thought about that. But there you go. All right.
Well, it's kind of an interesting point that we'll get to when we get to the women's race, that flyover was actually tricky in that it was the steps were narrow, I guess. They weren't deep.
Yeah.
So I think if you could do 2 at a time, it actually was beneficial because you didn't have to like pitter patter up there and potentially miss one of the steps and trip.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, good one there. Let's move on to the U23 men's race. You know, I talked to Janaea Francis because hadn't seen her out there. I didn't end up talking to Jack Spranger. Hadn't seen him out there all year either. My understanding, and this is just from, you know, hearing off the grapevine out there, I didn't think he was racing any cross. I think I heard that even during mountain bike season, because he was doing a lot of mountain biking, that he wasn't going to be racing any cross. So it was kind of cool. So you see Jack Spranger show up on the on the start line, and you know, he knows how to win these races. He's our national U23 national champion. That we've never seen that jersey, right? Saw it out there. Saw it out there on Sunday.
Not in the race though, right?
I think he was in the race. Wasn't he wearing it?
I don't watch it.
Oh yeah.
I guess you could wear. Yeah, I guess you.
Well,
could.
I mean, we'll get to it. It's the one day of the year we see Bruner wearing his.
That's true. Oh yeah. Didn't even think about that. Okay. Well, yeah, that's awesome.
So Jack was out there. I don't know if he's going to nationals. I think maybe he was one and done on this one, but that was cool. He still can do cyclocross. Was able to get second place. Henry Coote, who you know has kind of had a breakout season so far this year, finished up in third place, kind of the first American that we have seen out here every week, beating Zakrajcek and Luke Walter and the rest of the field. Dan English there in seventh place. Hadn't seen Dan race this year either. Another mountain biker, but
we did see him in Rochester. He did a little media for us.
Oh, right? That's right. Yeah. He was there on his way to the Mountain Bike World Cup. But yeah, this one was all Ian Ackert, and he already showed that he was the strongest in the elite field the day before. So it was just picking up they were probably happy that he was, racing the U23 race.
So he wanted to defend the U23. So he
did not break down to my pressure.
And for
to race elites.
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious, like now will he race elites next year? Like, I mean,
the thing is, like, it's on my part, young. It's silly to like do that because I think this is his first year as a U23.
Well, but he won it last year.
Oh no, second year. You're right.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I'm just like, now you win twice, you defend it, like you're done, even though
no three-peats.
A 3-peat to U23, like is that
getting into Crash Davis territory?
I just think that he could probably.
Do I need to explain that reference?
Not to me.
Okay.
Yeah, Bull Durham, minor league baseball.
Yeah, it's like, what's the it's winning the home run, all-time home run leader in the minor leagues.
Yeah, in the minor leagues. Yeah.
Right.
Never
I think it's better than that, because this is where he should be. This is the top of
True. Yeah.
But he's also So Well, let's listen to Ian again.
Canadian champ.
So after yesterday, you had a good recon. Yeah. And it looks like you sort of hung out for today, just in that group. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, like I think I had a little marker on my back today. after yesterday and last year. Yeah, I mean, everyone was throwing shots, but then everyone was sitting up. So it was kind of like when you threw your shot, I attacked on one of the run-ups. Yeah, I just kind of went all in after that, and I'm happy to win. It was so awesome.
So it was on. So was that the next to last lap?
Yeah, the penultimate lap.
Okay.
I think.
And which run up?
The first one.
Okay.
Second one is unrideable. There's too many foot marks, but the first one, if you got it and you're on it as soon as you get to the top, then that's where I got the gap. So.
And then it was just all out, make sure you had the gap and kept it?
Exactly. I was suffering hard though on that last lap. Like, I didn't know if I was going to be able to hold it, but luckily I did, so it was awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Nationals next?
Nationals next. Got to defend this jersey now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, right. Okay, so he's won junior national championship, then he won first U23. So defend it again. Get the double, back-to-back double, and then my guess is next year he goes to the elites.
Could he win the national championship elite in Canada this year?
I mean, yes. No shade to other Canadian.
Definitely
friends,
a favorite up there. I think
yeah,
him and Tyler Clark would have a good battle.
Yeah.
But it's also they're the funny ones because you never know who's going to show up.
Right. Evan Russell could come.
Evan Russell could show up. Tyler Orschel could show up.
Jeff Kabush
could show
Bandon
up.
him.
The DeSeras could show up.
What else?
Big show races here. Let's move on to this women's elite race. Probably the best race of the weekend.
Yeah.
This was a good one. Katie Klaus. We've been watching Katie Klaus since she made her not a comeback. When she started racing again, the storyline early on was, hadn't raced until May, showed up, and then was kind of like working her way into the season. And I think week after week, we would see her and talk to her, and it was almost like this, just happy to be here. Just happy to be at the front of these races type attitude, wanting to win. Really rad. She thought she was going to be able to do it, and she was in the right place on that day one. Just couldn't pull off the sprint, but still just kind of being that good roadie and just sort of sitting on that wheel and just sort of picking her spots, and had that plan to come in aggressive this race and just take it to the field. And that's what she did early. And she kind of had Sydney McGill and Isabella Holmgren and Natalie Quinn on their heels early in this one.
Yeah, I distinctly remember it was lap 3. There was this like little, the rider, whatever in the stream, the riders went around this corner and we didn't see them. And they popped up over this like slight rise, and she just was there first, and that she just rode it really smooth and just got a gap, and that was it. And she punched it, and I was like, oof, lap 3, like 3 of 6, I believe. And I was like, okay, this might be the move. I was like, I think Klaus is gonna win it. I was would have been happy to see that her stay away because of what you said, sort of the season long narrative. But she crashes before the flyover steps. But she got up really fast. That was the thing that like, it was crazy to me how like fast she crashed and then got back up. Like she didn't get gapped.
It was kind of like on her dismount, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, she was trying to get off her bike. I thought she even made it onto the flyover, was like running up the flyover and kind of hit. That's what I was referencing earlier with those shallow steps. I kind of thought that she was even onto it, but it might have been just getting off her bike. Anyway, she had like a 3-4 second gap. And by the time she untangled herself from the bike at the base of the flyover, the rest of the group caught her, and then it was kind of like race reset from that point on.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. They were all back together. And speaking of Natalie Quinn, I was just looking back at my notes, and I remember, and now this makes sense hearing everybody talk about trying to get to the baseball field is sort of like a long, lot of power, and it really makes sense. Natalie Quinn being, this roadie, that she multiple times she would go to the front and she was gapping Holmgren. And this is sort of what I'm kind of remembering my thought process was in these races was sort of, this was Holmgren's first UCI race. Both days, she didn't look super sharp at the beginning. It almost seemed like she was sort of getting, revved up into that speed. And it was interesting to see Natalie Quinn was like, yo, I'm here and I'm going to punch it. And she was getting a gap on Holmgren, but you could tell that as the race wore on, Quinn didn't quite, I don't know if it's a technical skill or just doesn't have that endurance in this type of ability to sort of stick with them at the end. She would kind of always drift off after Holmgren or McGill or Klaus started punching. So just, that note came across and I was like, oh yeah, we got to talk about that.
Well, that's always what we talk about, especially at this elite level. It's always that last 10 minutes, right? In these, again, this one a little short on this race, so just under 46 minutes, but you're talking about those 50-minute races. That's a bit of a jump from what most people are used to if you haven't done a lot of the UCI elite racing. But yeah, I mean, I think that there were a couple times too that Isabella and Sydney were happy to let Natalie kind of get the bit between her teeth and charge after Klaus. And I think that maybe she burnt a couple matches kind of with that enthusiasm, possibly.
Yeah.
That then they were able to take advantage of once they caught her. In this race, what I was talking about before was Saturday with the planks being a factor. It was kind of interesting because Sydney kind of kept that in her back pocket on I'm not sure if Donkey Labels has back pockets on their kits, but if they on their skin suits, but if they did, that's where she kept her riding skill for those planks, because she pulled it out on Sunday and was able to stick with Holmgren. It was actually like, I think 2 to go where she got stuck behind her, had to dismount, had to run, and Isabella got a little bit of a push there that she had to close down. But I think then on the final lap, they all came over it together, and that was the difference, and it was kind of, Katie was always running, but the other two were riding. And I think on that last lap, we'll hear it in the interview, that's when McGill was able to push it from there. No, you push it from there, and then I think Holmgren let Holmgren back, and then she was just kind of hanging out in the third spot, but had that control to be able to then attack when it came to the pits. Yeah, so who do you want to talk to? I got all three here.
I mean, I like to start at third and move our way up.
All right, let's talk to Katie.
You went out hard. It looked like you were controlling that race from the front. That seemed like that was the plan.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to just be aggressive today. I knew yesterday, Bella had a little bit of a slower start, so I was like, maybe we'll just put the pressure on today. And I felt pretty good. Today, and I was like, I just want to race aggressive, and I haven't really done that this season, where I've been at the front and have been aggressive in the race, or the one pushing the pace. So it felt good to be doing that. I think I had a little bit of a gap, and then I made a few mistakes, which cost me my gap, and then I tried on the last lap. I gave it everything I got, but at the end, I just didn't have it at the end. But I'm happy with my ride. I felt like this was one of my best rides this season. So
yeah, it certainly looked like it. I saw the sort of mishap running up the flyover.
Yeah.
Kind of the first
yeah, I don't know. It's been a weekend of kind of doing mistakes, which obviously I don't want that for this weekend. But yeah. I just had a few mistakes and it cost me my gap. But overall, I'm super happy. It was super aggressive racing, which I really love about cross. And I'm glad everyone after the race is awesome with it. And yeah, it was a fun race.
So a couple weeks off and then just regroup for nationals, yeah?
Yeah, we're going to hit Dublin at the end of the month. But yeah, just a few weeks off. I need it. I just need a break a little bit. Yeah.
Well, that was cool to see. You could tell also, like you said, she's very happy with the result. the comment about the aggressive racing is, I remember that now in the live stream, how they were gunning, especially in that last lap. They really were going for each corner. I mean, they were boxing each other out, shutting gaps, trying to chop. And the comment that, like, after the race, it's fine, right? There's sort of
that's what I love. She's like, I love cross because at the end of the day, everybody's cool with it,
right? Because
awesome about it, yeah.
Because it is, yeah. I mean, like, cross is slower speed. You can make someone grab a bunch of brakes, and that's not going to cause a pileup behind you, or they're not going to, fly off the road. It's like, yeah, we're going to play chicken to the corner, and
at that top level, it's the person who got, call it chop, call whatever you want, who's like, I shouldn't have let that happen.
Right.
It's not the attitude of, hey man, why are you doing that to me? It's like, I put myself in the wrong position that I allowed that to happen.
Yeah. I left the door open, or I didn't defend it. Yeah, exactly. And they're going to try and find a gap. So, yeah, I mean, good on Klaus going to Dublin. Wait, so Dublin is it's the second World Cup, right?
Yep. I think Antwerp first.
Yeah. Dublin second. Okay. Dublin is December 1st. All right. I'm just trying to get like my mind wrapped around the sort of dates left. I can't believe. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And then come back for nationals. And yeah, it was kind of, you could see at the end, she was like, so I was like, I need some time off.
Yeah.
So good for her. All right. Let's talk to Isabella.
Came in there looking strong from last night. What happened in those final laps?
Yeah, I think I was maybe just a bit too far back on the first laps, and yeah, I started to push it a bit more on the last 2 laps, but Sid had a really good finish and she had a really good pass in the pits, so.
It seemed like it came down to just fighting for that position at pit 2.
Yeah, I think, coming out of pit 2 is probably one of the most important sections. The sprint isn't super long. I think Ian sprinted from behind yesterday, but I know for me, I would have to be in the lead going into the finish straight. So
you racing nationals?
Yeah.
Is that the next race for you?
Yeah, that'll be next.
You think you're gonna do any European racing this year?
Yeah, I'll probably do Christmas cross between the training camps, but nothing until late December. Thank you.
I'm sitting here in New Orleans and it was 90 degrees today, and I'm seeing all these riders put on these like puffy jackets, and I'm just like, I kind of missed that. I'm ready for that.
We had snow, we had rain, we had wind, we had all the weathers. We had some sun out there as well. I'd forgotten about the point where it seems like what she's intimating burned a little too much energy in the beginning, trying to catch back on.
Yeah, and that's what she said. She started slow, and Katie had called that out, and so that's. I mean, I kind of feel like that seems like just not racing a lot of cross, right?
Yeah.
Like that's sort of just not that conditioning.
Yeah. All right, so we get to our winner.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, Sid. I don't even know where to begin. It seemed like Katie went out really strong, but then it just came down to the 3 we thought it would with you and Bella and Katie, with actually Natalie doing a really nice race as well. But once it got going, how did it all play out?
Yeah, Katie was riding really strong. She was on the front quite a bit, and off the start gave in a good push. Then after that, it was just a lot of back and forth. We had Natalie in there for a while as well. Lots of mixing it up. And then last lap, I was kind of sitting third wheel in the group with Katie and Bella. And I just saw a little opportunity to pass coming into pit 2 and took it. And it was just all out from there, like try and hold on to it. And yeah, was able to hold them off down the finish straight. So super happy with that.
Yeah, you made that turn for home, look back a little bit, and just, I know you put in a good effort, but it seemed like you had enough. It looked like you were comfortable with your kick coming into that home stretch.
Yeah, I was feeling fairly good with my sprint finish. I was hoping Katie's super strong, and obviously Bella's awesome. So I was hoping I'd be able to hold them off. But yeah, looked back and it was clear.
One of the things that was that helped Bella yesterday was riding the planks. I saw it today. She was doing it. You actually were doing it as well. I saw the one lap where you had to dismount. I think it was with a couple to go, and that sort of got you a little back. How did that play out in the last lap, or was that even a factor?
Yeah, I definitely I wasn't hopping them yesterday, but then hopped them today, trying to save a little energy, keep my speed up. Yeah, I think it was 2 to go. There was kind of traffic and it slowed down quite a bit, so I just dismounted and then had to chase back. But yeah, last lap, made sure I was off to the side a little bit so there was room for me to hop, and then I could make the pass, or sorry, then I could hold on to the group and be ready for that pass right after.
And as you said, so like, we always talk about the sprint before the sprint. So pit 2 was basically it. That was the spot you want to be ahead before that off camber.
Yes, before that off camber, it was a lot of tight stuff after that. So
yeah,
pit 2.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That reminds me, in the live stream we saw after her race, she was signing autographs. Did you see that?
Oh, I had to wait for it. Yeah. It was awesome. I just sat back and was like, you do your thing.
That's great.
I'll be here.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Congrats to Sydney. I was looking at her results and I didn't realize she actually, speaking of, riders seasons, and she actually, last time she raced was track. I do remember now her talking, like wanting to have a break.
Yeah. Sorry, just to rewind a couple seconds here. A lot of those, there was a group of kids, but then there were a couple kids that came up to her and also Katie, and were like super enthusiastic and wanted her to sign like their sweatshirts, and they were all Montana kids. And I thought that was pretty awesome. That we kind of forget about that sometimes, that how much this actually means to some of these different cyclocross communities that we visit and cover these races, and how much these elite racers are looked up to and really are these role models. Just so it's something to keep in mind that you're coming in here, these juniors in Montana don't get an opportunity to see this type of racing. Again, we're kind of spoiled that we get to see it every week, or even if you're on the East Coast, you can travel and see a lot of these races. You're not doing that in Montana. This is kind of like your one chance. So it's kind of cool, and it's kind of great to see this crop of elites that we have that are willing to take that time, but also are putting on such a good show for people in these different places.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right? Like that's part of it. It seems like that's what the Montana CX is about. Is they seem to
want to, that is their goal for this. They want to bring and they want to bring the best riders, and they also want to create an opportunity for the best riders to have a place. Like, I think that right now there are a lot of different places out there that are bidding for the next round of Pan Ams, which is awesome, but we don't have to go back very far to a time when nobody bid on it.
Yeah.
And they kind of had a twist Adam's arm. Hi, Adam. Up at Really Rad to put on, because
right.
And he did it, and it was awesome. And he sort of like took one for the team to put in that third day and Really Rad and have Pan Ams, and it was kind of, that I know that was not an easy lift, and it's awesome that they did that, but. And I know there was screwy things going on with Costa Rica and all that kind of stuff, but we wouldn't have had a Pan Ams. And now I think we're at a point where hopefully people are seeing the importance of this and want to do it. But Montana was the one place that stepped up in the last couple of years and put on this event. So thanks to Sean and his whole team for doing that out in Montana.
Yeah, I think it's also just cool experience for the riders, like to be appreciated, like for their craft. And obviously we appreciate it, that we want to talk about it, but just not non-biased. We are biased in the sense that this is sort of what we do, we want to do, but to have those kids, to like look up to these fast cycling people. And so, I just saw them live stream, thought it was great, was like, wanted to bring it up. Congrats to Sydney. Always very fun to talk to you after races, super, super nice. So good for her. I
interrupted you when you were going to say something in there.
Oh, I was thinking about her schedule and just races coming up. She actually hasn't raced since Trek CX Cup. Maybe that helped her out a little bit. Had a little time off, got a little fresher legs, a little more training. Is she doing nationals? Did you ask her that?
I believe she is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if I specifically asked her that, but I'm pretty certain she'll be doing nationals.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I assume. I mean, I don't know. Is Rochette doing nationals?
I believe she is doing nationals. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'll be the first time she's back at nationals in a while.
So
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
I looked, and
when
it's
is it?
so in a couple weeks, maybe this weekend. I can't remember. Whenever it is, I looked at tickets to go up there because I was like, this would be fun just to hang out and go to Canadian Nationals. So expensive, like $1,600 or a flight up there or something. I was like, I can't do this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's next. It's not this weekend. It's next weekend. It's the 16th. And Levis.
Is it Quebec City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no easy way to get there either.
Right. Yeah, I'm wondering, like, yeah.
I think that was actually flying into the Quebec City airport, which I'm sure every Canadian right now is like, why the hell would you do that? Just drive.
All right. Canadian Nationals should be a good one. Looking forward to hearing how it goes.
Yeah. Maybe there'll be a live stream.
Hey, maybe.
All right.
Men's race.
Are we going to talk about the live stream and the drone in every photo?
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, the drone.
That's just the thing now. I think I can go through the season and just have all of my drone photos.
So I don't remember watching the live stream. They had a sort of finish line
drones.
camera,
off
to the side, and that's what they would cut to during the broadcast. So the drone that
I think the person who was doing the drone, that's why you heard the record. I think they were doing their own media as well.
Yeah.
I think in some of the Pan Am stuff, I think there is a tag for the person who was doing that work.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm saying is like so that the drone that you see in the finish line photos that you took,
that's not what you saw in the live stream.
It's not what you saw in the live stream. So they weren't using that. We saw this at Trek. We had Ron Short's drone under the banner. I just feel like, let's go a little higher. Let's that way everybody can get the same images. We don't have the drone in the shot. Like I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be maybe that'll just be a thing now. Like
I think so.
I hope not. We don't have to have the drone in that shot.
I don't know. Is it really that good of a shot following them through the finish line from behind?
I don't think so. Like, no. I don't know. It depends. Like in a road race, yeah, that's a cool shot, right? But you do also want the front on. I don't know. I just feel like go higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, of the things in the background of a photo, I'm like, whatever. It's not the, it's better than
the porta potty.
So we have that. Yeah. All right. Should we talk about this men's race?
Yeah. Yeah. What happened?
Well, what happened was Andrew Strohmeyer did Andrew Strohmeyer things in the beginning,
right?
And just kind of like smacked everybody in the head from the gun and took out and took off and just like really pushed the pace and continued to push the pace. And Scott was up there with him, and I think both of them were able to kind of get away with a little bit of a gap with Eric back there. It's kind of like lurking, but Brunner also getting off the line pretty well. Like, I on the first lap, he's the third one over the flyover, as opposed to races that we've seen earlier this season where he's kind of stuck back there in 9th, 10th position and has to work his way up there. So not burning any matches early. And then Curtis was able to join them up there. Tyler Clark had a strong race. He was able to join up there. And then as we worked our way through this race, Funston ended up, I think, 4 laps in. I got at the run up, his chain came off and got jammed. He had to run to the pit, and that kind of got him behind and sort of ended his chances to win. And then kind of like at that same time, Strohmeyer just couldn't hang anymore. I mean, Brunner on this track. He showed when he raced last year here, I think it was the fastest I've ever seen him go on a bike. I mean, he was just like
Right.
in another in just a whole different stratosphere than the rest of the field. And even if he's not 100% right now, you get him on this course and he's still just lights out. And that's what he did. And he was able to not crash as much on Sunday and just looked like from Saturday to Sunday looked like a completely different rider. It was, I mean, we were all watching him Saturday going, what is going on with Eric Bruner? He just looks so out of sorts. And then just to completely turn it around on Sunday and put in one of those races that I think we are used to seeing him race. It's kind of the vintage Bruner out there.
I mean, I remember you guys talking about him last year and how fast he rode, and it was like, oh, nationals is like it's done, like he's gonna win. Yeah, he crashed multiple times on Saturday. I listened to his interview because your interview was on the live stream, and then they interviewed him after as well.
Did he say any different? Did he say any different in the second interview?
He did. Yeah, they asked him if you did kind of some different questions. But I was like, is he on the wrong tires? Did they get that? Was it a tire issue? Like why he crashed? I'm just curious if there was something.
I think there were just some sneaky sections in there that
yeah
he wasn't prepared for and was probably just taking them too aggressively.
Yeah,
because it was wet on Saturday.
Right. Yeah, and then so I guess we watching the live stream. I don't know if it's 3 to go or 4 to go. We're drone shot above them. You have Strohmeyer, Bruner. I think it's Bruner's in front, Strohmeyer second, and then maybe it was it Funston at that point? Maybe it was White. But like there was a section where I thought I saw right before the start finish, or sorry, that like Strohmeyer like dabbed or something,
mm-hmm.
and he fell off the pace like just right at the start finish, and they did talk about it in the live stream. And I was like, okay, maybe they missed it. And I'm thinking, okay, Strohmeyer is going to pit. Like something happened. Like he got a flat or he mechanicaled. He's going to pit now. Did not go to the pit. And I was like, oh, and he's like off the pace. And I'm like, he's not pitting and he's off the pace. Something's up.
Yeah. And I, to be perfectly honest, I did not talk to him. So I don't know. I just think that I don't know if it was the first couple laps that he misjudged and went out too hard, but he wasn't able to keep the pace. I don't think there was any one thing that really did him in.
Yeah, and so it was like, okay, is he gonna do the Stroh thing and is he gonna bring it back? And it was like, no, it's over, like lights out, like, and then it was, is he gonna hold on to third? And I think he held. I mean, because we're talking about Funston earlier, dropped a chain. Yeah, I'm looking at the lap times. Lap 4, he did a 7:18, while everybody else is doing 7:03, right?
Yeah.
But he did the consistent laps after that. But that next lap, you see Bruner and White are doing 6:50, 6:56, so they're faster than him and keeping it going. So Funston was never going to come back. Strohmeyer seemed to have a bad lap 7, but kind of brought it back together on the last lap to make sure he didn't get past. I think.
Kind of a weird season though.
Yeah.
The highs are highs and the lows are lows. He dropped out a really rad on Sunday, so it's like, who knows? Nationals is going to be very interesting.
Right. I mean that is, we begin the season. Strohmeyer rattles off 5 wins in a row, then 2 seconds, then he wins again. A DNF and a third, right? It's not the end of the world, but like the inconsistency or just sort of the way he's sometimes riding the next day, it's like, what's going on? And which Stroh is going to show up at nationals? And before we learned, Bill, you were talking. I didn't even kind of think about this. Talking about elevation, in Montana, a little bit of elevation, right? Like,
yeah, it's 3,000 feet. So I mean, I think that again, I don't think anybody's making excuses for it, but it's different.
It's different.
It's something that you're coming into different. And I think, to his credit, we're kind of like doomsdaying this about inconsistency. Inconsistency is still on the podium every time he races.
Every time he finishes, true. Yeah, exactly. No, it's we're maybe making too much out of it. But I guess what I guess maybe the point I'm trying to get to is that it seemed a lock at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
First time Bruner raced against him at Charm, Bruner didn't look as good. But things are converging, right? The skills are all sort of even out. Curtis White on the rise, looking good.
Absolutely.
So
we're gonna talk to him, and we're gonna turn aside. I think I joke about it. We're gonna talk about our favorite theme, progression.
So Strohmeyer, it makes for an interesting nationals.
Yeah,
Bill.
I think that's it. I think and with I don't think we've seen Funston at his best. I think that Curtis is starting to come back to where he's been. I'm not sure we've seen Bruner at his best. I think when Andrew Strohmeyer is able to put it together correctly on a day, there's nobody stronger in the country. So it's gonna be wild times when we get to nationals. But let's talk to Eric Bruner about this race.
All right, Eric, first off, congrats.
Thank you.
Main question, how's it feel to wear that jersey once a year?
It's a fun day. Get to bring it out once, but I like the white, so
yeah,
good to win.
Yeah, so defended the Pan Ams. It looked like we didn't chat after yesterday's race, but such a big turnaround from what it looked like from the outside to today.
Yeah, yesterday was really rough. I mean, I crashed once, caught back, crashed again, then I got really frustrated, caught back again, then crashed a third time, landed on my back, and from there I was just like, I'm just gonna cruise it in. So not a fun day.
No, but I mean, well, at least you did some good recon for what to avoid it today.
Totally. Yeah, it was nice to ride the course at speed. I didn't even pre-ride today. Just rode over here, stayed warm, so it worked out well.
It looked like, what we've seen just with your starts in the last couple of weeks, same kind of thing, but maybe a little better up there about top 5 in the front, and it didn't look like you were in any huge hurry.
Yeah, start was much better. I was much more comfortable today than probably any race so far. I've been having a little bit of tightness and issues with my hips, and I got that worked on this week, so didn't feel 100% yesterday, but much better, and then even a little better today.
Yeah, and definitely, I mean, once it came down to it, you were putting in really strong efforts. It looks like, what we've seen you at your fastest, but two of your main rivals for this race, Funston and Strohmeyer, seemed to fall away. Did you see what happened with them?
No, I didn't see what happened with Funston. I think Strohmeyer, I think it was just accumulation of effort. I think he was just tired. I just kept pressing and eventually got a little gap on him. But I think the altitude was good for me.
I mean, this is probably one of your season goals here, but nice to have that one in the pocket going into nationals.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the championships are a big priority for me and big confidence booster. I've been struggling with the confidence a little bit this season, so honestly, just felt like there wasn't much to lose today because I'd been feeling so bad. So maybe that helped me in the long run.
Yeah. So I mean, just putting this into perspective, how do you feel like versus last year at this time? Now that you got
I feel fitter, but I've just been struggling with some sickness, and I thought I was over it. And really, I feel like I'm not. So even just to be in the fight for it today was a big success.
Congrats.
Thank you.
A lot to chew on there.
Yeah. 3 crashes on Saturday first.
Mm-hmm.
Fell on his back. I was like, okay, how do you? That's quite a crash. What else?
Little sick, maybe. Not
Little
even
sick.
at 100%.
Yeah, I mean, all these riders telling us they're, oh yeah, it's a little sick last week.
But it's also it's good, just a confirmation. Again, we sit there and look just like everybody else from the outside and try to figure out what's going on with people. But it's always good to have the opportunity actually to talk to them, to see, and just that he was struggling with his confidence and not kind of in that, having that same mojo that he has had in seasons past. And you could see that. I mean, you could see that with him racing. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at his results, I'm like,
this was, I think that you talked about altitude and elevation before, and it's kind of funny because in our interviews from the weeks past where he was like kind of complaining that he didn't know how much power he had because he was coming down to sea level, which was like, oh, poor guy. So at least this weekend, he was at an altitude he was comfortable with and still had all of that power.
Right. That was a pretty funny part where he forgot he could go harder at sea level. And so, that played out to his benefit. I was thinking, comp edge. So how many they won? 1, 2 Pan Ams this
Yep. Lauren and Eric.
Pretty good. I don't did you know Strohmeyer what he's racing next? Because I'm also curious what Brunner is racing next.
I'm not entirely sure of his schedule as far as domestic goes. I think he's going to Dublin.
Okay.
No.
Just seeing if we're getting any more matchup. I'm just wondering, are we going to get any more of these men?
I don't think we're going to see them. I don't think we're going to see them all together before nationals.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I did talk to Curtis as well. Should we hear from him?
I feel like our word that we use when we talk has been progression every week. So
progression. Yeah, you got to say it nice and slow because it has been kind of slow. But
okay. Well, where does this slip into that theme?
Well, I'm continuing to progress. No, I'm really happy with that ride. Fuck, I thought I had a chance to get around Brunner, but he's just this is a good course for him to just tap out a rhythm, and I just couldn't get around him really. And it's just one bike length open. I slipped, another bike length open, and it was only 2 seconds that whole last lap, and I was just looking for that moment to hopefully reconnect, and there was just really nothing. But I gave everything I had. The tank's empty. Felt like I raced a smart race. Felt like Funston and Strohmeyer were kind of hitting it early, but I knew that it's a little higher than the races we've been doing, so even if there's a little altitude factor, I had to race it smarter and race later. So I'm happy to.
Did you see anything significant happen to those two, or do you think they just went out too hard?
No, I didn't. Not really. Eric hit it. I forget what that was, maybe 4 to go, and Strohmeyer was behind him. The gap opened, and then I went around him. So I think he's, maybe he just kind of burned too many matches too early. I don't know, but I just knew I had to race later because yesterday I got caught behind a couple crashes in the start, and I had no choice but to race it slow, and I was really happy with the flow of it, so I felt like I could use that tactic today, just hopefully a better start, and all that worked out.
Yeah, I feel like that was a good ride for you in that I heard you sort of eavesdropped in on that conversation after the race where you're a little frustrated about the beginning, but just working through the field like that had to feel good.
Yeah, and again, there's some altitude factor, so maybe it was good to have that governor almost, you couldn't race too hard too early and blow up and go into the red, so I had no choice but to race a steady race.
So we got, there's definitely racing in between. The next big race that we'll see all of you all together is nationals. Just compared to where you've been in years past, and I know you're getting over that early season pneumonia. Where do you feel you are now?
I feel like I'm in a good place, and I'm going to continue to improve. I think nationals is coming at the right time, and there's nothing to lose. So everything to gain, and there's no stress on me this year. So I'm happy about that. So I just keep doing what I've been doing day in, day out, and just looking forward to it.
I appreciate that you're one of the few people I can interview where we can actually have an eye-to-eye conversation.
Of course.
Congrats.
He reminded me of what Brunner said, which he said an accumulation of effort, which I thought was an interesting phrase, which Curtis said, burnt too many matches. I haven't heard that one yet. Accumulation of effort. So that's what happened to Strohmeyer.
Yeah.
Curtis White, like I said, we said before, looking good, looking strong. And it's one of those things where maybe the illness in the preseason pays off at the end of the season. So
we'll see. Those guys have had a lot of battles together. So I just think it's really just shaping up to be a really interesting U.S. Nationals. Shout out to Tyler Clark. He was kind of the dangler in that race the whole time. Like
He
right off.
was dangling, and
Yeah.
it meant I gotta see. He would come back, and then he would get dropped, and then he would come back, and I'm just like, dude is putting in work out there.
Another shout out, Ben Frederick. I mean, amazing race. Gets 6th place in this one. I think that's we talked about his best ever finish in a C1. I think he beat that here, right? Getting 6th place in a Continental Championships, pretty awesome. Evan Russell, was sort of that phenom out at this race last year, finishing in 7th place. Yeah, fun race. Gage Hecht out there, 12th place finish.
Did he fly in?
I'm not sure.
Maybe he didn't actually pilot the plane.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Eric Bruner has now won Pan Am Championships 4 times in a row.
Interesting. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
He last year he was Pan Am's have been happening since 2015. He has now tied Katie Compton's record of 4 times in a row.
All right.
And 4 total. So, these are streaks, these are records. We like talking about them. Bruner notching the championships. He's got 2 nationals in a row. He also won a U23 national. So he's got the jerseys. He's got a closet. He's building a collection in his closet. Just kind of worth pointing out that.
All right, let's quickly just going to rapid fire Euro Championships here. I know you saw maybe some of these races in the highlights. I didn't really watch much of it, but let's start with that women's elite. Fem Van Empel, she won it, but you were saying that was a finish.
That was a really good finish. There's a video up there you can watch the last like 30 seconds or whatever. But they were fighting for each turn. Elbows were out. Talk about aggressive racing, and Celine got to the start finish first, and Fem came around her, and it was close. And Fem she beat her chest in a very like pumped fashion, and it was exciting racing. There was a few like kind of crazy technical sections that they were like always battling for, which was good. There were a few spots where like Brand kept messing up, and she was creating gaps, and so we're having really good battles again in the women's race. Fem's notched two wins in a row, so she's back. Her streak is back.
It'll be interesting to see what happens when Puck shows up, but I'm telling you, I just saw it from those first races. I think Alvarado is just coming into this season really strong, like stronger than I know she won the World Cup last year, and that had a great season, but I think that she's just looking even stronger.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. She won those races. She won both those series, but Fem didn't do all those races.
Right.
And so it's like, but now this year, yeah, like I agree. She looks stronger than she did last year. So good stuff happening over there.
Yep. Brand coming in third. Men's race real quickly. We talked about it last week. Excuse me. Last week, if they were going to build a course for Felipe Orts being the home country hero, it looks like they tried their best.
Having the race, like the race of his career, 2nd place at Euros, got to be his I think that's pretty sure his best result ever at a race at this level. I tuned in at the very end, and I saw them off the front together, and Felipe Orts was like bleeding out of his eyeballs, just on it, which was great to see. And at one point, there was a point where he looked back behind him, and I was like, "Oh, it's over." Like Nyes has it.
Yeah.
Like, when you're looking for where third's at.
Yeah.
But yeah, Thibaut taking the win. I mean, just I don't want to say it again, like to the haters, but like we're not just like there's been pressure on him, and I think he's delivering at a pace that it works for him, and I think that's great. So kudos, man. I mean, like the question now is, how long can he hold this form, or like how long will he go into the season? But good weekend.
Do you think as a pre-race meal, do you think he had mom's spaghetti?
Because he's rabbit?
He's got the hair.
That's good. That's good. He does look like Eminem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I like Ian's longer blonde locks
Okay.
over Tebow's
We're gonna have to make an all bleached blonde cyclocross list rankings.
Yeah, we should.
Heat check.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that does it. Should we just end it there?
Let's end it. Yeah.
All right. What do we got? We got like nothing. We got like Euro stuff this weekend, yeah?
Well, so we do have NoHo,
yeah.
which is happening, not a UCI race, but
right.
they're, it's, I don't know, at 33rd year. It's a big event. I'm sure some local folks in the area might drop in and, sort of in race. But yeah, then we've got Europe stuff, and then it's Nash Dash, then it's North Carolina, and then Nationals.
And we'll have a Dublin in there as well, as we talked about.
Right.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. We'll see you next week.